Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Revv Motoring, and I'm Renee, your host. When you think MPV, the first thing that comes to mind is some boxy shaped looking vehicle with not many impressive features and a whole bunch of seats. Nothing much to shout about. Well, that's not the case with Renault Scenic. First introduced back in 1996, Renault a comeback Scenic based on the Megane platform. So what can we call the new Scenic? Is it an MPV? Well, I prefer to call it a crossover simply because of its looks. Does it look like an MPV to you? It's got some really nice sporty styling, the nice sloping back, nice arches and a whole lot of things that you really can't associate with an MPV. And in the case of the Scenic, it's available in two variants. We have the basic Renault Scenic and the Renault Scenic Privilege, which is the one we're driving.
Well, we've had quite an interesting look on the outside. Now it's time to get on the inside of the Scenic. Being a people carrier, it is indeed roomy. What would you expect? Anything less? And first of all, one thing that I love being in the car itself is the elevated driving position. For me personally, I always love cars or vehicles that give me a really commanding position on the road, and the Scenic really does that. And with its muscular architecture and of course something which really never disappoints, its interior, alright? And this goes for all the other Renault we've actually sat in so far. And with its contoured seats, something that you definitely want to have is comfort, especially if you're doing all those long drives, maybe in Singapore, or even a trip up to Malaysia. And when it comes to technology, as with most of the Renaults as well, we have Renault's Multi-Sense. And the Multi-Sense basically gives you something which you see in other vehicles as well, which is the different modes. We have the Sport, that's the Comfort, that's the Eco, Neutral, and Personal. Okay, so many modes for you to choose from, which means it gives you all that control for the different driving styles. And of course, there's ambient lighting for, to give you that really immersive looking cabin. And if you feel like you want to have more sunlight in the cabin, well, there's the full glaze panoramic moonroof, which is, I think, a really excellent touch on the Scenic. And when it comes to accessories wise and things that you can actually use in the car itself, well, we have those USB ports for those of you carrying your phones and stuff like that. I think this is really useful.
On the interior of the Renault Scenic Privilege, one thing that really strikes me as impressive is the fact that it has so many storage spaces. 13 to be exact, 13, that's right, 13. From the armrest right here where you can store like a whole bunch of stuff. There's also storage under your seat, over in the back as well. And the other thing which will really be impressive is the fact that you can actually move your armrest, all right, which creates more space, more movable space if you need to put anything in the car. So yeah, there you go, 13 storage spaces. Right, moving along, let's talk about something which is the whole idea why a lot of people prefer to buy an MPV: boot space. Of course, with Renault targeting families, who are looking for more adventure and a whole lot of boot space, well, the Scenic does not disappoint. Let's talk about getting the boot open. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't have an electric tailgate like most of the other cars have, but not to worry, I think that is really not something that I'd consider as a kind of a downside to this car. To get the boot open, all you need to do is unlock it with this key, all right, which is basically a cool looking key, by the way. All you need to do is pop up the boot manually, and it's going to show you a total of 572 liters of boot space. And with the different seat configuration, with all the seats down, you get a total of 1,554 liters. One of the really useful features I think that the Renault Scenic has is the fact that you can actually bring down the seats, not via levers and stuff like that, but via this really cool interface at the back of the luggage area, which has this seat, these buttons right here. And to bring the seats down, all you need to do is press this button. To bring one down, if you bring the other seat down, and both of them go down, or you can actually press all to get the seats down at once. Right, it's time to wrap up our whole drive experience and summarize our experience with the all-new Renault Scenic. Well, the fact that it's been around for 20 years speaks not only for the brand, but the fact that the Scenic itself has a strong following in the market. And being one of the pioneers in the MPV segment or crossover segment, I think really speaks a lot for the car itself. So what do we like about it? Well, of course, French styling. Renault has never disappointed when it comes to styling. We're talking about the interior, really good workmanship, good quality materials being used, and the fact that it is an MPV. The luggage space, which I simply love, for in case of if you're gonna bring your luggage along and other stuff, it really makes a really great family car. And being a turbo diesel, which is I think on top of the list for me, because it offers great mileage, 25 kilometers per liter, I think it's something which not many other MPVs can actually, or crossovers can actually shout about. Now we come to pricing and how much is it going to cost for you to buy the Renault Scenic Privilege here in Singapore. Available, of course, in two variants. The basic model costs you 107,000, but if you're planning on getting the Renault Scenic Privilege, it's going to cost you $113,000 inclusive of COE, with an annual road tax of $1,148. We want to say a big Revv thank you to our friends over at Wins Automotive for allowing us to have the Renault Privilege for our presentation. To find out more about Revv and all the other motoring and lifestyle stuff we have done, check out our website right there. Till we catch you again, this is Renee signing off, and folks, always do remember, do not use your handphones while you're driving, do not drink when you're driving, and always look out for your fellow motorists and those riding mobility devices.